Currently, I'm a student of Vadim Ksenzov testing course of 34th group. I'm sorry. Our agenda for today is first, there will be some introduction, then I will talk about severity and its types, then about priority and its types. I will show some differences between severity and priority, and then it will be some examples with severity and priority combination. After that, I will talk about defect triage and defect triage team meeting. And then I will provide some guidelines for a tester. And after that will be some conclusion and FAQ and some bibliography with the sources that I used in this presentation. In this presentation, I will use the terms defect and bug. Their difference will not affect the presentation in any way, but you should understand how these terms differ. So, a bug is a fault in the software or code that causes it to malfunction. In contrast, a defect is a flaw in the product that reduced its value or usability. If the issue identified in the development environment means before moving the software to production, it's called a bug. Once the software in the production, any issue identified by the team, by the end users, is called a defect, stating it as a defective software. There are also such terms as error, fault, failure, so you can read about it for full understanding. So, why do we need to know about severity and priority of a bug? Every time a new bug is appeared, the bug is logged by a tester or a customer. The attributes attached to the bug could be many, like bug description, application version, bug details, steps reproduced, test data, so on and so on. Still, severity and priority are the most commonly used attributes. Once reported, a bug will be referred to other teams that need to know the project status, including the testing and development teams, product owners, managers, clients, and business analysts. Let's go further. What is severity? Severity is one of the most important fields of bug report assigned by a tester. According to ISTQB, severity is the degree of impact that a bug has on the development or operation of a component or a system. In other words, severity shows how bad it will be for the application if this bug will appear. Also, it is important how often users are experiencing it. We will look further about it in the examples. According to most English language articles, we have 4 severity types. First is critical. A bug that has completely blocked the functionality of an application where the user or tester cannot proceed or test anything. If the whole application's functionality is inaccessible or down because of a bug, such bug is categorized as critical. The customers may report defects affecting the live application and its user experience in the production environment. These defects are also categorized by their priority and severity. It goes without saying, but regardless of who reports the bug, critical defects should be fixed immediately. If the bug was reported in a testing environment, the test is blocked until the bug is fixed. If the defect was reported in production, the user are blocked from being able to use your application. For instance, when the login screen of an application is not working and the user cannot log in, the whole application becomes inaccessible for the user. Major. When a bug isn't affecting the whole application but still prevents significant system functionalities from working, it becomes a major bug. There won't be a complete system shutdown, which would be the case for a critical defect. Even so, it will prevent major, sometimes even basic, application functionalities from working, but there is a workaround. For instance, in a banking application, a user cannot transfer money to any beneficiary, but that doesn't affect their ability to add new beneficiaries. Minor type. The behavior of an application is different than expected, but this does not affect the functionality. Usually, minor severity bugs have a workaround, so they may not block the functionality completely. Such minor bugs can wait until the next release because they do not restrict the application functionality. So we can live with this. For instance, the download link in the help section of an application needs to be fixed. However, the user is still able to read the document online. The next type is low, or sometimes it's called suggestion or improvement. Bugs of cosmetic nature that don't affect the application functionality or user experience, but they are valid defects nonetheless. So, it is good to do for developer if you have time to it. For instance, spelling mistakes on the web page. There are valid bugs, but they can wait to be fixed since they don't affect application functionality. What is priority? According to ISTQB, priority is the level of business importance assigned to an item, for example, a defect. By now, you know that severity means the importance of the bug when it is happening to the application. Priority, however, answers how quickly the bug needs to be fixed. Note that the priority can change relatively to other defects, hence it is subjective by nature. So, priority types are following. First, and most important is high. If a bug directly affects business logic or user experience, it is marked as high priority. These bugs may affect the whole application. They need resolution as soon as possible, and assigning a high priority ensures a low resolution time. Usually, a high severity means a high priority as well, but this is only sometimes the case. Next is medium. The bug which don't affect business and customers typically gets medium priority. They are less urgent than high priority defects and can be fixed when the development team has the bandwidth to take them up. Such bugs can be fixed either in the same release or in the next. Next is low. The bugs that have the least priority for getting fixed are fixed after all the high and medium priority bugs are fixed. The fix for low priority bugs is usually provided along with some high or medium priority defects fixes. And now we will talk about differences. The difference between priority and severity are the metrics that indicate the overall impact and the order in which the problems should be addressed. Severity is related to quality standards, where priority is associated with scheduling bugs to resolve them in the software. So, severity is defined by the impact of a specific problem on any application's functionality. And priority is defined by the impact on the business. Category of severity decided by testers. A category of priority decided by developers or product owners. Severity deals with the technical aspects of the application, and priority deals with the time frame or order to fix the bug. The value does not change with the time it is fixed for severity. And for priority, the value is subjective and may change after comparing with other bugs. And now some examples with priority and severity combination. Usually bugs in the most critical user paths in the application are classified as high severity and high priority bugs. As a result, it is recommended to test all these cases for every change in the product. With regression testing, these bugs can be identified early in the cycle. If the releases are frequent and the regression testing is done manually, there is a high chance of missing some of these bugs, so the automation approach is best suited here. Let's take the example of a banking application to understand the priority and severity of combinations better. So the first is high severity and high priority. The banking application has a login page where the user is authenticated. The steps involved are the user enters the username and a password and clicks on the login button. Next, the user is navigated to the home page of the user profile. For example, the login button on the login form is not clickable. After filling in the login details, the user cannot click the login button or login. This example falls into the category of high severity and high priority. From an application perspective, the whole application is blocked, and none of the functions can be accessed by the user, so this is high severity. From a business perspective, if any application is not letting a user log in, then what is the use of such an application? Users will avoid such application and businesses will be impacted. Such bugs are a high priority and must be fixed as soon as possible. These are blocker issues because they prevent the user from working further and need an urgent fix. The most common place of these high severity and high priority bugs is the critical user path, a path a typical user will go through every time they use the application. And the good news is that these bugs can be easily avoided if they are caught before they go to release. The solution is automation for the regression test cases for the critical user path. Next example is low severity and high priority. Sometimes browsers render the page differently. The same page may look different in other browsers. Elements may miss places, text wrapping does not look good, key buttons are not displayed properly, functionality works, but the user experience is not good or even bad. This low severity but high priority affects user experience. It is important to test applications across browsers and operating systems. It is called cross-browser testing. And after that, to catch the bugs that we will find. Let us go through a specific example. On the user home page, after login, the banking application shows all the options of deposits, transfer, account summary, and so on. In our example, transfer is misspelled as transfer, so without S. This error does not affect the application's functionality because the user can click and perform a transfer successfully. However, this is a drawback from the bank reputation perspective. Therefore, the severity is low because functionality-wise there is no issue. Still, the priority is high since it is related to business and needs to be fixed as soon as possible. Our next example is high severity and low priority. For example, fewer actual users are still using the older Microsoft Edge versions like Microsoft Edge 88. In the banking application, when accessed in older version on Microsoft Edge, the page is not loaded completely and the form fields are overlapped. This makes the accessibility of the website difficult for Microsoft Edge users using the older versions. Hence, the severity is high because the whole application is impacted. However, there will be very few actual users who will use Microsoft Edge 88 and other older versions, and this makes the priority low because this fix can wait. The next example is low severity versus low priority. The help section of the banking website has a subsection whose theme does not match the whole website. This defect is not hampering the website functionality. Also, not many users will access this particular section. Hence, this defect falls under the category of low severity and low priority. Let's talk about defect triage and defect triage meeting. What is defect triage? Defect triage is a process in software testing where it defines the order of defects which will be resolved according to the priority of severity or risks. It is also called bug triage. It is based on the severity and priority of the defects in software. So, basically, defect triage helps the software testing team, if the available resources are very few, to fix the bugs in the software. Triage is a French word which means sorting. So, defect triage gives the degree of risk to each bug in software testing. If the number of bugs is too much than the number of testers, then this process automatically tries to fix the bugs as much as possible based on the degree of risks. Defect triage meeting. A defect triage meeting is a discussion in which testers decide the degree of risks for each bug based on the severity and priority in software testing. The main objective of this meeting is to provide a solution and try to resolve and fix each bug we got during software testing. There may be maybe another kind of question discussion possible, like if the bug we got valid or not, defect or bug is worth fixing or not, when should we fix this bug, defect is reproducible or not reproducible. The triage process includes the following steps: reviewing all the bugs, including rejected bugs by the team. Initial estimating of the bugs is based on its content and respective priority and severity settings. Prioritizing the bug based on the inputs. Assign the bug to correct release by product manager. Redirect the bug to the correct owner or team for further action. In defect triage meeting, apart from the discussion, testers divide the bugs into the different sections based on their characteristics to fix them. There are the following categories: defects to fix now. Those bugs defects to fix now. Those bugs which should be immediately resolved come in this category. These are bugs which create huge damage to the software or application, so they should be resolved as soon as possible. These are a lot of resources which can fix these bugs immediately. Then, defects to fix later. Those defects which can be resolved later come in this category. These bugs create very less damage to the software and they are not too harmful, so they can be resolved later. And the next is defect we will never fix. All those defects which are not harmful to the software and they need to resolve come in this category. Sometimes these bugs are necessary for the software also, so maybe they have to be there. The frequency of the defect triage meeting depends upon the importance of the software and the situation of the project. There are the following factors which determine the frequency of the defect triage meeting. So they are total number of bugs in the system, the current health of the project, schedule of the project, schedule of the team members and their availability. These are the following points that should be under consideration while fixing the bugs in the system. If the bugs related to the current and correct project or not. The software sent by the tester regarding the defect is enough to understand by the developers so they can work on it without any issues. The bugs which are found should be categorized into the correct category. The severity and priority of each defect or bug are assigned properly because defect triage only works well when the severity and priority are assigned correctly. Now some guidelines um, that every tester should consider before selecting a severity. Severity parameter is estimated by the tester, whereas the priority parameter is estimated by the product manager or by the triage team. For prioritizing the defect, it is imperative for a tester to choose the right severity to avoid confusion with the development team. We must understand the concept of priority and severity well. Always assign the severity level based on the issue type, as this will affect its priority. Understand how a particular scenario or test case would affect the end user. Need to consider how much time it would take to fix the defect based on its complexity and time to verify the bug. And here I would add that the sooner the bug is found and fixed, the less it will cost to the company. In conclusion, I would say that classifying the bugs will be with the proper priority and severity is essential. In software engineering, assigning wrong severity to defect can delay the STLC process and can have some serious implication on the overall performance of the team. So, the responsible person needs to be precise and accurate on its cause for assigning the bug. And some FAQ question to remember the whole presentation. Who defines severity and priority? The manager or a client defines the priority of defects in cooperation with the product goals and needs, the commercial values. And the QA engineer determines the severity levels of the functionality problems. What is the difference between severity and priority with respect to a bug? Whether or not a bug has a significant impact. The bug severity is concerned with the product and how far this damage extends. In contrast, bug priority refers to the order in which bugs should be fixed, depending on the impact on the system and other variables. What are the four types of severity? There are four types of severity, where level 1 being the top priority. Type 1 is a system down or critical impact, complete system failure. Type 2 is significant impact or severe service downgrade. Type 3 is minor impact, most of the system is operational. Type 4 is informative, low impact or improvement. Here we go, some bibliography for you if you want. And thank you very much for listening.